So, usually I like to preach and share a message from a particular passage, but tonight I'm going to go overview of the Book of Esther. So a bit quicker, but a bit longer. Just bear with me. And the reason for doing this overview is because God is not mentioned. And because God is not mentioned, we want to see how the incidents, all the events work out and then culminate in telling us that, hey, even though God is not mentioned, we can really experience God working. And God is orchestrating things behind the scenes, even without us realizing that He's there. So that's why I'm sharing this big overview from the Book of Esther. So the title of the message is Experiencing God's Hand Working Behind the Scenes, even though we cannot see God working, you know. And I want to share about 10 incidents in this Book of Esther as we go ahead. And then just bear in mind two things. The first thing is that we want to answer the question, is all that is happening in the Book of Esther a string of coincidences? Or because of so much of these things happening, are they all overwhelmingly telling us that no, actually God is working? It's not coincidences. And the second thing is to relate the life progression of Esther, of Mordecai, versus in contrast to Haman, and see how maybe our life cycle, our life progression also relate to these three characters or two characters. So the first incident is that how did Esther, who was an orphan, her parents had passed away, become queen? Is this a coincidence or is it really the work, the hand of God? Now in Esther 2:3, the commissioners from the about 100 over provinces in the Persian Empire looked for somebody to replace Vashti, okay? And they have scanned the whole kingdom and seen thousands of beautiful young virgins, and then they narrowed it down to about 400 beauty queens, okay? Yeah, because why? It is estimated that in the King Xerxes' harem, there are about 400 concubines. Almost one a night, you know. Less than Solomon maybe. Okay? Now, after narrowing to 400 beauty queens, it comes down to just one queen. Okay? Imagine, is this a coincidence? Or is it God's handiwork that this Esther finally became queen? Okay? She became queen in the 7th year of King Xerxes' reign, 479 BC, if you want to know the date. And then the phrase, she won the favor. Okay, in chapter 2, you read on and on, she won the favor 3 times. In 2:9, Esther won the favor of Higai, the eunuch, okay, who's in charge of the harem. And then in Esther 2:15, Esther won the favor of everyone. That provides the stage to propel her to see the king, and then the 3rd time, she won the favor of the king in Esther 2:17. Now, when you hear the word won the favor, what does this remind you of? Which story does it remind you of? Which person? For the Jewish readers, it will remind them of the story of Joseph.
Yes.
Because he too won the favor.
Amen.
Almost 3 times so. He won the favor of Potiphar, he won the favor of the prison warden, and ultimately, implicitly, the favor of Pharaoh.
Yes.
Alright? And also, it resembles Joseph's story because why? Joseph previously was a slave, was a prisoner, and he rise up. And Esther too, her ancestors 100 years ago, her great-grandparents, like Mordecai, great-grandparents, they were deported, they were prisoners from the Babylonian Empire, and now we have the Persian Empire. Okay, another resemblance, besides finding favor and besides being a prisoner before the past ancestry, Joseph rise up to become the second in command to the Pharaoh. And now Esther becomes queen. Okay? like the second in command, almost like the second in command. All right? So we find that somehow or another, this Esther rose up. Okay? Is it a coincidence or is it the hand of God? Now, for us, some of us may have also experienced it already, God working behind the scene for us. And of the so many hundred of applicants that come or want to work in New Zealand, some of you got it here. like Queen Esther, out of the 300 people or 400 people, you get it here. Amen. I remember also she was also applying for the job in university 17 years ago. Later she found out from the boss that there were 300 applicants. Wow. Okay, and narrowed down to her. Wow. And praise God. Huh? Amen. Okay, so is that coincidence or is it the hand of God? Okay, every praise belongs to God. Huh? Yes, amen. Some of us, we may not still realize the outcome that we are expecting, but then just hang on. Like Esther, she listened to the advice. We need to listen to the advice. She listened to the advice of Mordecai and be pleasing people in the meanwhile, okay? Because Esther was pleasing in the right way to Hegai, okay? So that is something that we can learn. So that is the first incident. Is it coincidence or is it the hand of God that Esther, an orphan girl, can rise up? And in any case, no matter what background we come from, whether we have been even a prisoner before, even if you have come from a poor family, a broken family, whether it's Esther or like Mordecai, whether you're orphan, God can do anything. Amen. Okay? Yes, now the second incident is that how come, of all people, Mordecai accidentally happened to know, hear the plot about the two king officials who want to assassinate the king. Okay? He was at King's Gate. But I also met people at King's Gate. How come he was the one to hear? And then of all things, how come he was not rewarded at that time? Alright? And then all that was given to him was a record in the chronicles, in the king's books, Now, if you were Mordecai, you get, some of us will get, say, why? Why I got no reward? I saved the king's life! No reward, And of all things, what is worse is that in the next chapter, Esther 3:1, who gets the reward? The enemy, his enemy, Haman gets the reward. Imagine if you're working, you deserve the reward, but your enemy gets the reward. How would you feel? Alright? So, like Mordecai, maybe we have to learn to wait, okay? Wait and see what's happening. But meanwhile, just be a good worker. Now, the third incident in the life of Esther is that how come 5 years ago, Haman 5 years later, after Queen Vashti, after Esther became queen, 5 years later, it was Haman who has planned to to destroy and annihilate all the Jews. Okay? But who could speak to the king? Which Jewish person can speak to the king? Okay? Only Esther, who was appointed queen 5 years ago. Who could have known that 5 years later, I needed to be there? Okay? And she was appointed, okay, just at the right time to have the king's ear. But actually, Haman and the king doesn't know that this Esther was a Jew. Okay? Because Mordecai told Esther not to tell anyone that you're a Jew, but people knew that Mordecai was a Jew. So, but then, was it so easy to approach the king? Alright? Because Esther says that, hey, it's not so easy to just have access to the king. Yes, I have access to the king, but it's not so easy. Because 30 days have passed since the king has last summoned for her. Okay, the rule at that time was that if the king hasn't summoned you, you don't go. Alright? So 30 days have passed already. And so we come to the famous verses in Esther. Esther 4, right? And Esther was a bit gingerly, tentative, but Mordecai said this famous verse: "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to this royal position for such a time as this." Now, is God mentioned in this famous verse in Esther 4? God is not mentioned, right? There's only a hint of God, because it says that, well, the deliverance for Jews will arise from another place. And then in Esther 4:16, it says that, Esther says that, "Go and gather all the Jews in the city of Susa and fast for me." Then they all fast for 3 days. She and her maids also for fast for 3 days. And then, even if it's against the law, I will go and see the king, and if I perish, I perish. Okay, this is the famous verse also, right here. Again, no mention of God. No mention of prayer. But they are fasting. Usually when you fast, you expect people pray, right, for something. So there's a hint again. Although God is not mentioned, there's a hint again. Yeah. Now, whatever position that God has granted us, we may not be granted our royal position. All right? But whatever position that God has granted you is a royal position. Okay? We need to rise up to whatever situation we are faced with. And who knows, you have been put in this position for such a time as this. And praise the Lord that a lot of you are here, and that very few places in the world have wage subsidies, for foreign workers even. Singapore, they don't have it. They hardly have it. But you have been here for such a time as this. And praise the Lord, to be put here. Praise the Lord, so that you can provide for your family, provide for the people back from where we came from, and be the light for them. And the fourth incident is Esther. She actually went uninvited to see the king. Okay? The king has the king lost interest in Esther? Hasn't seen her for 30 days, you never know. So if, because the king has 400 concubines, so we have to think of that. And haven't called you for 30 days, yeah. So she went to see the king. Is it by chance that the king extended out the golden scepter so that she will not be executed? That is the question, right? Yeah. So is it coincidence, by chance, Russian roulette, you just try? Or was it really God's hand that she still had the favor of the king? So whenever God gives us a challenging assignment, let us be courageous like Esther. Go. But then it's not a frivolous decision. Because why? She said, "Please fast and pray for me for 3 days and 3 nights." Especially when we come to a decisive moment of life. Let's be courageous, but let's have faith, but after consultation with the Lord. Now, we are almost into chapter 5. Esther has 10 chapters. We are now reaching the peak of the story, the turning point. All right? And the turning point is the first dinner banquet. Now, Esther wanted to see the king. Why did she want to see the king? She wanted to reveal about Haman's plan to kill the Jews. But why didn't she reveal Haman's plan straight away? Why? Your question, why? Why? Instead, she asked the king to come for another dinner banquet tomorrow night, the next day. What's the difference of one night, one day? Okay? So something is happening. Is it a coincidence, or is it God just telling her, "Hey, not now, tomorrow"? Okay? Why? And then comes to the sixth incident. Is it a coincidence from God? Is it a coincidence, or is it a hand of God? Okay. Now, this is the in between the two banquets. What happened in between the two banquets? Esther 6, chapter 1. Okay? Esther chapter 6, verse 1. All right? The king couldn't sleep. All right? And when the king couldn't sleep, what happens? No, the king actually, when you can't sleep, what do you expect the king to do? You expect the king to have wine, have the concubines, have the music, have song, right? Something like that. But what did he do? He asked for the king's records to be read to him. No, the king's record, how many years is reigning already? 12 years. They have 12 years of record to read. But of all the 12 years of record, what did he read? He asked the people to read to him from year 5. And year 5, the story of Mordecai. Well, imagine that, lah. Huh? Is that coincidence or is it the hand of God? Huh? It's amazing, right? Not? This, in between the two banquets, something like this happened. The king couldn't sleep and he happened to read about Mordecai. How Mordecai saved him from being assassinated. Alright? And Mordecai was a Jew.
Yeah.
Oh, if you read Esther 3:8, Haman told the king, there was a certain group of people who does not obey the king's law. And the king doesn't realize that actually Haman was saying that it was the Jews who do not obey the king's law. But now, the king happened to read that, hey, Mordecai, the Jew, saved him. So is the Jew a good person or a bad person? The Jew can be good people, not like what Haman said.
Yeah.
So this night, he can't sleep because why? The king knows now that the Jewish people are okay people. The king doesn't actually know that Esther also is a Jew. So you see, the setup is now perfect timing. Alright? So this anyway is a reminder for us. No? If you are not rewarded yet, like Mordecai, you deserve your reward, but you are not rewarded yet. It's okay. Alright? Because why? Maybe the king can't sleep. So you pray for your boss next time. Maybe your boss can't sleep. Then maybe next time you get promoted. Okay? And then what happened? So the king wanted to honor Mordecai. So exactly at the time he asked, who is in the court? And who happens to be in the court? Haman was walking past. Oh, okay. Is that the hand of God again or coincidence? Then come, Haman. I want to honor a certain man. Okay? What do you think I should do to honor this man? Now Haman, he think it was himself that this king is going to honor. So he suggested the best and the highest thing that he can think of. Okay? The highest honor. And so, but he didn't realize that, you see, the writer of Esther is very clever. He goes to a pig, and now the tables are being turned. Okay? So the king ordered Haman to do what he suggested for Mordecai and not for himself. Okay? Very interesting, huh? So it is a big irony. Actually, Haman went to see the king. He happened to be there. Why? Because he wanted to ask the king for permission to hang his enemy, Mordecai, Yeah. But instead of hanging him, he has to lead this Mordecai around in the king's horse, and the royal robes, and telling people this is what the king does for someone the king delights in, So the tables are turned. So let us wait. If you're not promoted yet, not recognized yet, just wait. Then the seventh incident is the second banquet. Now the king is ready to support the Jews. And when Esther finally revealed that it was Haman who plotted this plan to kill all the Jews, including herself, she's a Jew. Now the king is ready to listen to her. So the king is enraged and he stormed out into the garden. And meanwhile, Haman fell on the couch, pleading for mercy from the queen. And just at the same time, when she fell on the couch, the king came in and saw Haman, the way he sees Haman as molesting Esther. Is this the hand of God or is it a coincidence? The timing. So again, we come to ask this question: is it the hand of God working? No. There's always a right timing for things. Okay? So there's a right timing to tell your children something. There's a right timing to talk to your boss, and the right timing to say something to your wife or your husband. You know. So the right timing. No, my daughter had a fantastic experience, scary experience. She was in Korea a few years with her best friend, and of the 10 or few days there, the first few days, 7 or so days, she was going out with a friend together. They were always going out together. But one day she decided that no, today I want to do my own thing. All right. So she and her friend went separate ways. Now her friend walked past a restaurant, and what happened was that there was an explosion. A gas bottle exploded. All the glass just splashed out, and her friend has to be hospitalized with lots of burns in the face, everything. You know, hospital for 1 or so months in Korea, foreign language. And my daughter spent time with her. Now, is this the hand of God? Or is this coincidence? Of all the many days she was with her, but just that day.
Yeah.
Now, it's the same thing. It's like this book of Esther. Okay? God is not mentioned, you know, but something is happening. And then the 8th incident is the reversal of Haman and Mordecai. Is it coincidence or is it the hand of God? You know, the honor that Haman thought that he would get instead went to Mordecai. The gallows he built 75 feet high, so tall that everybody can see in the whole city. He built for Mordecai, but in the end, the king hung him on these gallows that he built. And then the king had given Haman the signet ring, a ring of authority that gave him the power to write the order to execute all the Jews. Okay? That signet ring was taken from Haman after he got hung. Okay? And then it was given to Mordecai. And then King Xerxes gave Haman's estate to the queen, Queen Esther, and Queen Esther appointed Mordecai to take care of the estate. So you see, the big reversal in fortune. Is it the hand of God or is it just coincidence? You know, from being persecuted to this. So, for us, sometimes we may be persecuted or we may be put down by the many Hamans of this world. Okay? But then, you never know. Just stick in there, you never know. Our life progression may be like at a time whereby Mordecai was being persecuted by Haman. Maybe we are at that point in our life progression. But maybe when you are 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, you know, maybe you will reach this point. Okay? So you never know. Just hang on. So we never know how God will orchestrate the events. And the 9th incident is the pearl, P-U-R, the lot, the dice that was rolled. You know, Haman cast the lot on the first month of the 12th year of King Xerxes' reign. Okay? First month. And when you cast the lot fell on the 12th month. To do what? To destroy and kill all the Jews. So when they cast the lot, the dice, it happened to fall on the 12th month. So okay, 12th month it is. So, but then it means what? It means it gives the Jews 12 months to think what to do. Correct or not? Is it the Lord or not? So in between this time, Esther and Mordecai could pray and do something about it. And casting the lots in the Old Testament is the way to determine God's will. So when actually Haman cast the lot, actually, was it God's will? Okay? So is it coincidence or is it God working? So the 9th incident is this. And finally, the 10th incident is defending the order to defend themselves. They already have an irrevocable, irreversible order that the people could kill all the Jews. Even the king cannot revoke the order. So what can they do? God gave them the wisdom to give another order that they can defend themselves and even attack those who try to attack them. Okay, but that will mean that there will be a lot of casualties. Correct or not? Not very good. The Jews will suffer, everybody will suffer, big civil war. But then, in Esther 9, what did it say? In 9:1, they say the tables were turned. And in 9:3, it says that all the nobles of the provinces helped the Jews. Why? Because the fear of Mordecai has seized them. Very interesting, right? So in the end, the Jews won the whole thing. They were safe. All right. So is it coincidence or is it God's hand working? God working, yeah. So the climatic conclusion, all these 10 things, just to quick review, how Esther miraculously rise up to become queen. And then why Mordecai, of all people, Mordecai heard the plot and he wasn't honored. And then how Esther's crowning 5 years ago was so important now, because now she has access to the king. And then the 4th thing is that how Esther miraculously could still appear before the king and survive uninvited. And the 5th thing is the first dinner banquet. Why it wasn't the right time to share about Haman's plan. The 6th thing is why is it so crucial that one night difference? Okay? The king couldn't sleep. And so Mordecai, the Jew, was found out that the Jews are okay after all. And then the 7th incident is that the second banquet. Okay? Finally, the king saw Haman in his true self. And the 8th, you can see all the events of Haman being overturned, and the fortunes now lie with Mordecai. Is it the hand of God or is it coincidence? And then the 9th is the casting of the lot. Okay? 12 months later, okay? Is it the hand of God? And then 10 is the king's order to defend themselves. And all this culminates in Esther 10:3. It ends with Mordecai, the Jew, was made second in rank to King Xerxes. Okay? Where does this remind you again of? Second in rank? Joseph was second in rank to the Pharaoh. Okay? So we find that there are some connection with Joseph. And what did Joseph do? Joseph was in Egypt ultimately to save Israel, because he and his brothers were the initial 12 tribes of Israel, the beginning of Israel. Without these 12 brothers, there will be no Israel. And now, in this time, Esther led to the saving of the Jews. So all these incidents that we see, although God is not there, but all the incidents overwhelmingly come to a point and culminate in saving the Jewish people. So for us, even though God is not mentioned, so for us in our rocky time ahead, Some of us, even if we think God is, where is God? We can realize that even in the book of Esther, even when God is not mentioned, okay, God is orchestrating events, even behind the scenes, without us realizing. Even when they're asleep, the king cannot sleep. Okay? Things are happening to work out for our good. Can we now look back in our life? How has God been orchestrating events in our life?
Yes, Lord.
I think a lot of you
Amen. Yes, Lord.
can testify to this right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.